New York and on the new Hot 97 app. Ebro in the morning. On Hot 97.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have our friend Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on the program.
I'm going to tell you right now, she's the hottest rapper on the planet right now.
You know what I mean? Yo, AOC, when you dropping the tape, kid?
I just dropped my first piece of legislation yesterday, so I got my producers on and all that.
Yo, and that joint was hot fire. We were just watching it.
So now your new legislation you put out, what is the official name? It's like the new Green Bill. What's the name?
It's the Green New Deal is what we dropped yesterday, and we dropped it actually with already, before we even submitted it to the floor, we had 60 other co-sponsors in the House of Representatives. Almost every presidential candidate almost every Democratic presidential candidate in the Senate signed on to it. So it was off to a really good start, and we have more rolling in.
Can you give us some highlights and break it down? What exactly is the Green New Deal?
Definitely. So basically, one of the big things that we're trying to address is climate change. And the big elephant in the room is that no politician up to now really wants or has admitted how screwed we are if we don't do anything. And so all of these bills they've been good bills, but they're too small to actually address the problem. So yesterday what we did was that we dropped something called it's actually a resolution. And so resolution is different than a bill because it doesn't even need to pass the Senate or go to the president's desk because it's not a law per se. It's basically a definition. And so, we made all of this noise around a Green New Deal, and we wanted to avoid people co-opting it and basically introducing another bill that was a lot smaller that didn't fix the problem and calling it a Green New Deal. And so what we did yesterday was that we introduced this bill that defined it and to say it's not a Green New Deal if it doesn't fix the pipes in Flint. It's not a Green New Deal if it doesn't clean the air in the Bronx. It's not a Green New Deal unless we are addressing Puerto Rico. And it's not a Green New Deal unless we're getting to 100% renewable energy. Right. And so the resolution has a whole bunch of other aspects to it, but it basically says that we have to address economic, social, and racial justice in the same sweep if we're going to actually fix this problem.
Now, AOC, if you're being completely, honest in knowing what your opponents are going to try to do to this bill, what do you think they're going to how are they going to try to pick this thing apart?
Well, I think what they're going to try to do is say what they always say, which is like, oh, it's unrealistic, it's this or that. But that's exactly why we introduced it as a resolution first and not a bill. Because what we wanted to do is define the problem first. And that's often the issue that a lot of people run into. They'll see there's this big issue, and we immediately run into trying to solve it. And that's when you get people, authorizing programs that don't always make sense in retrospect or whatever. So what we're trying to do is be really mindful about it and just define the scope of the problem, which is why we were able to get so many people signed on to it. Because we can have a lot of different interpretations of the solution, but what we are trying to get everyone to do first is just recognize the scale and get people, even in other parts of the country that don't understand the Bronx or don't understand West Virginia or PR, to see those communities, to require us to see those communities.
The amazing thing is Raekwon dropped his first album, The Purple Tape. AOC's first album is the Green Tape.
Fire.
But I have to ask you,
there you go.
One thing unrelated to the bill. Just like us watching your ascent over the last year, how seamlessly you've moved in there and felt comfortable. Is it more difficult than it appears, or has it just felt like this is always what you were supposed to do and it feels very natural being in there and fighting for what you're fighting for?
Oh, no. I mean, it's a little bit of both. One is that it's super difficult. It's really, really hard. And basically, like, I'd say until maybe last week, I was just scared every single day. And there are mornings that I still wake up where I'm like terrified. It's because the stakes are so high, and it feels like, what's that film, like Man on Wire, where there's that guy that's walking on that little string between the Empire State Building,
right,
it is, to two really high buildings, and so it does feel that way. But I think for me, I'm kind of in this situation where I feel a little like YOLO, like
You feel low?
No, YOLO.
Oh,
right?
YOLO. I'm about to say, because you
YOLO.
definitely don't seem low. The amount of lenses on you at all times is like unprecedented. I don't know if a freshman has ever had this much attention.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It's totally insane. And so I think that's why for me, I try to approach every day with a lot of gratitude, because I don't know how long this is going to last. I'm not going to assume that this is just a permanent thing. So if I say, hey, this is the moment, this is the opportunity, that means if we have to strike while the iron is hot, and while there's all of this attention, the best thing we can do is direct it to issues that matter, and to just try to build as much support for our community. So that's the approach that I take to it.
AOC, what's your real relationship with Nancy Pelosi? How is that going?
I think it's an interesting relationship because like, as everyone knows, I didn't come in as like the quote unquote the chosen candidate from the party. I beat the Democratic kind of incumbent. And so I think what happened was that when I was coming in, a lot of people in the party were kind of like scared or wary. I think some definitely still are, about what I'm about. And so I think it's really kind of just been, like with a lot of other members, acclimating and learning. Because I think on one hand, there were some people that thought I was just a straight up fire thrower just for the sake of being a fire thrower, like just to be provocative. But I think people are starting to quickly realize that my goal is to not be provocative, but my goal is to just fight for communities, and I'm going to stick by it. And so I think they're starting to see that, that we try to stick to principles and that they'll negotiate with it. And even though we don't always do the thing that they want us to do, I think they're still respecting it, because they see that our team, we're not doing it out of ego. We're not trying to be special. We're just trying to hold a hard line, because, in my opinion, I feel like we've been compromising things that we shouldn't be compromising. Like, the military budget is separated out from our regular budget, because the military budget we recognize as a separate thing that can be controversial for some people, and that maybe we shouldn't be casting a vote on the military budget the same way that we cast a vote for schools. So I feel the same way about ICE. I don't think that ICE should be lumped in the same budget as arts programs. It's not the same thing.
Yeah, but ICE has such important things to do. ICE has to do things right now, like try to get rid of 21 Savage.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is like that thing is very real, because and I'm not trying to overly speculate, but here in New York City, we have a major immigrant activist, Ravi Ratbir. ICE has been targeting him and detaining him. And last year, all these people took to the streets because they were going to try to put him in deportation proceedings.
Yep.
Because he's been organizing the immigrant community. He's been organizing everyday people to really start to be aware about what's going on. And ICE has picked him up. And ICE has been picking up political activists all over the country. And it's like, the timing of it is weird, because it's not like there's some incident that precipitates the arrest. 21 Savage didn't have some incident. He wasn't violent towards anybody. Like, nothing like that happened.
Oh, well, now they're trying to come out and say that his car was driving towards a police officer.
And that he had a
gun. And they're trying to throw a bunch of other stuff on it. But there is what you're calling weird, but let me just go ahead and say it. ICE is used as a way to scare people from being outspoken if their paperwork isn't all the way tightened up, or they're a dreamer, or something. And it's being used. I said straight up, AOC, the 21 Savage thing was marketing, because Donald Trump was going to be on television talking about immigration, and they wanted that to be a part of the whole story.
Alexandria.
Absolutely.
When you say, we must abolish ICE, right? A lot of people call you crazy, and they don't really understand what you're saying. If, we were to abolish ICE, what would you say would be an alternative to ICE that you would be comfortable with?
So the first thing I think we need to have a very real conversation about is our border and what we want our border to look like. And so for me, when I say abolish ICE and people say that's radical and that's unreasonable, well, I think caging kids is unreasonable. I think putting people in black box detention facilities, so here's a big story. A lot of my experience with ICE actually started when I was a teenager, because when I was an intern in the Senate for Ted Kennedy, I was one of the only people that could speak Spanish in the office, so they put me in the immigration beat on casework. And so I'm there, and I'm having all these people in the state of Massachusetts saying, I came home, they took my dad. I came home, my brother's gone. This, that, and the other. And what I would have to do is dig into these federal agencies and, try to find people's family members. And you know what I found? I found that ICE's detention system is nothing like the already broken U.S. mass incarceration system, because as broken and as morally horrific that our incarceration system is, at least you can have a lawyer argue on your behalf if you have the resources on the basis of due process. But once you get picked up by ICE, it's a black box. They do not give you the same kinds of protections. You do not get read your Miranda rights in the same way. You do not get those really basic rights. And as a result, sometimes we would all we could find out as a U.S. Senate office trying to take care of our people, all we would say is, hey, where's this guy? Where's this father? Where's this member of the community? And they say, we can't tell you. He might be in Arizona somewhere. And for me, it's I think we need to have, first of all, we should not have any enforcement system or any court system that is not accountable to the highest protections of our individual liberties. Period. I don't care if you're documented or undocumented. This is the land of the free. It's not some people are free and some people aren't, as we like to practice. I believe in the principle of once you step foot on this soil, you are protected by our values.
And that's what it's supposed to be.
Right.
And also, I just want to thank you, because my one takeaway, I didn't watch the entire State of the Union. Unlike you, I didn't have to be there, so I was watching wrestling. But when I tuned in at the end, and I saw the press afterwards, I saw you getting criticism for not being as happy-go-lucky as you should have been. And I have to tell you, I was so proud of you, because I get very disappointed when supposed Democrats get happy-go-lucky at the State of the Union, and yet when President Obama was up speaking, and people yell liar and do all kinds of things. So Were you surprised to get criticism for having a stern face at times during what was a stern moment?
I mean, I expected some people to, be upset about it, because what's weird about this place, I joke, I call DC the upside down. I'm literally calling you from the office, and I call it the upside down over here, because people care about civility more than they care about humanity sometimes.
Facts.
And so long as you're polite as you're violating someone's rights, it's seen as it's okay. So long as you're saying yes, please, and thank you while you're trying to take away women's rights to their own bodies, it's seen as okay. And it's not okay. This president is authoritarian. They are closing in on people's rights. They're targeting people of color. They're using excuses, and they're pandering. You look across that aisle, there were 101 new members of Congress this year, 101 new members. You know how many the Republican Party elected? You know how many women the Republican Party elected this year? One new woman. Wow. One new woman. They have a caucus that's almost 200 people, and they only have 13 women in their entire caucus. Literally, this president, two kids died. 2 kids died in DHS custody, and the secretary not only won't resign, but when she's dragged in front of a hearing and asked how many children have died or how many people have died in your care, she says, I don't know. So I'm not gonna, and he's gonna stand up there and say, make America great, and I'm supposed to clap for that? No, I'm not going to. I'm not gonna clap for that. This is not a game. It's not a game.
We appreciate you, AOC, very much. You see what's going on in Virginia, right? With these, with the leadership and their blackface and their past and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy. It is.
What do you feel these individuals should do?
I think Northam's got to resign, like, no question. And it's like, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, you know, all of this stuff was dug up by right-wing groups and whatever. Honestly, I don't care. It's not, you know, it is frustrating that Republicans won't hold racism accountable in their party, but that doesn't mean we should lower the bar and not hold it accountable in ours.
Thank you very much.
Overall, you know, what I will say, though, about the Attorney General, because the Attorney General admitted to dressing up in blackface, too, is that there's a very different way that the governor handled it than the Attorney General handled it.
In what way?
I think, so the Attorney General, what he did, first of all, was that he didn't wait to get outed. He wrote this letter. And I encourage you to read the letter that he wrote, because he wrote this letter and he said, listen, he was proactive about it. He didn't wait for someone to dig it up about him. He brought it to the public himself. And he said, listen, when I was 19, like, this thing has been haunting me forever. When I was 19, some friends and I did this stupid thing, and we thought that we could dress up as rappers.
Curtis Blow.
Like favorite rapper or something. And he was like, it's haunted me ever since I kind of educated myself as a white man, and I feel horrible about it. And he wrote this whole thing about how, like, he acknowledges racism as a default social force in America. And, like, he showed...
You feel like his awareness of the issue was better than Northam's?
Yeah, because Northam is, like, defensive about it, and he's, like, making excuses about it. And
well, Northam went on and was like, I don't even know if that's me. I don't know which one was me. And we were like, wait a minute. So you were either the blackface or the KKK member? Which one were you?
Exactly. And also, I mean, granted, I'm not about to put blackface on a scale or anything, but when the AG says, like, he dressed up as a rapper when he was 19 for Halloween and he feels horrible about it, that to me is but he demonstrates through a written statement his actual learning process and, you know, calling out the forces of white supremacy. That to me is distinct than a guy literally dressing up next to a KKK member, denying it, accepting it, making excuses for it, saying
putting it in a yearbook.
Putting it proudly on his yearbook page. Exactly.
And so, to me, that's those are distinct situations, not only because of the severity, but because of the learning process demonstrated. But, I mean, honestly, I don't think that in 2019, if you dressed up as a KKK member, you should be in public office anywhere, period. I'm sorry. We've moved on. Punto.
I have to say, the throwback AOC college dance video, substantially better, I'm sure, than the Curtis Blow blackface performance.
Oh, my God.
You don't say.
Oh, my God. Yeah. I mean, I think it's so funny because when they come, I actually enjoy when Republicans come after me because, like, they expose what they actually think is wrong. And really what they actually think is wrong is, like, women. Like, they just think, like, liberated women is just like...
Women having fun is always a problem. Women expressing themselves is always a problem.
Yeah, I mean, because they're trying to, like, they're trying to do, like, Handmaid's Tale out here. That's really what they're doing.
It's a scary but true thought, unfortunately.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, we appreciate your time today. And I know, you know, it's probably a good thing that you don't have as much time to come hang out with us anymore because you're out there doing your job, but we do miss having you in the studio.
Definitely. Well, I'll pop back in next time. Hopefully we reopen government or we keep government open so I can head back to New York for a longer period of time. But otherwise, I'm around on the weekends. And
also keep your eye open. I'm sure you are. I know it's not your business technically because it's a state issue. But what they're trying to do what Cuomo is trying to do right now to New Yorkers in terms of these hikes of every kind of fare and congestion tax is absolutely absurd.
It's crazy. Because you know what it is? It's we're cutting taxes. I mean, this is what's going on all over the country. We have, like, actual billionaires that live in New York City, and millionaires. and they've been getting tax cuts, and you're telling us that our Metro card has to go up? This is ridiculous.
Absolutely.
way.
Well, they don't. Cuomo's on his third term, so he's trying to find his kite out of here and figure out if he's going to run for president or not. He's going to need those billionaires. He doesn't want to raise the taxes on the billionaires. Nobody wants to tax more of the rich.
But guess what? You know why people say they need billionaires? Because they need the money to get votes. Just go out and get the votes. That's what I did. I cut out the middleman. I beat a $4 million incumbent because I went straight to people. And when you fight for people, people know that. But
yeah, but you care.
You know,
That's different.
But you're a real human being still.
You're an actual
different.
person still. So, thanks, AOC.
Thank you, Alexandria.
no problem.
Take
Thank you.
care.
Have a good morning. Bye.
All right, you too. And Ebro, not only is AOC amazing, but what a better phone line than Cory Booker.
No, seriously. Seriously. Why would you point that out, Roseberg? You're really coming for Cory Booker.
Sorry, my bad.